Well, now on to wildlife and its conservation are examined as we watch.
Watch. Summer's a time when many people go away on holiday. Last year, I went on a boating holiday to Norfolk. This is Ranworth, part of the Norfolk Broads, which is a pattern of lakes and rivers, dikes or ditches. It's a very beautiful part of our countryside, a home for all sorts of wildlife. A lot of people come to visit the Broads. Some for a day's fishing or a picnic. But most people come to spend a holiday on the water. There are all sorts of different boats for hire. Many boats are big enough for a whole family to live on, like a floating home. People and boats can do damage to the wildlife, and that's something we all have to think about and try to stop. If the boats go too fast, they can damage the banks. The plants at the water's edge get washed away, and that's a problem for any water birds who've made their nests there. In some places, the water is very cloudy. This is partly due to the motorboats. They've stirred up all the mud on the bottom and scattered it everywhere. This makes it difficult for the water plants to grow. The sunlight they need can't reach them. So we'll all have to take more care if we want there to be any wildlife left for the future. Unless we look after them, a lot of the plants and flowers and insects and birds will disappear.
Hello.
Hello.
Have you got a budgie?
Or perhaps you've got another kind of pet. You have to look after pets, don't you? Now, we're feeding our pets with millet seeds. What kind of food do you give to your pet?
And we've left some water for them to drink.
Where does your pet live? In a cage like this? Or in a basket? Or a kennel? Or a stable?
Now, these budgies have always lived in a cage. It's their home. But wild birds have got to make their own home and find their own food. A hedgerow is a good home for wildlife. Some of the hedges in our countryside have been here for hundreds of years, and birds like to shelter in them. There are lots of seeds and fruit to eat. And there are all kinds of insects too. Many insects like wildflowers, and you can find them in hedgerows. But a lot of our hedges are being cut down and cleared away. Why are so many disappearing like this? It's because farmers want bigger and bigger fields to grow their crops. And fields don't have as many wild things growing in them as the hedgerows. But there's food for some, and the field is still a home for many creatures. But some, like the harvest mouse, aren't found there as often as they used to be. Farmers have new modern machinery like this harvester. It makes farming quicker and better for them, but it's a real threat to the animals and insects who live in the fields. These two harvest mice still have a bit of time left before they have to leave their home. As the machine gets closer, the creatures have to be quick to get out of its way. The harvest mouse is one of the lucky ones to escape.
We're planning a model farm. Now, there isn't enough room here to turn the tractor, so I think I'll just pull up these hedges to make a bigger field.
Yeah, but what about the birds and the insects and the flowers?
Well, it'll be much easier to plough the field now. And I need big fields if we're going to grow a lot of food for people. Well, look, I've left some hedges. I know. We could keep a special corner just for wildlife.
Yeah, we could have a wood. Right, and we'll have with trees so that the birds can nest in them.
We'll have some more hedgerows for the insects and flowers.
We could even have a pond for the water creatures to live in.
And that would leave this area free for a field for the cows.
And don't forget to shut the gate.
We'll need a notice to remind people, saying, "Please shut the gate." You could make up some notices of your own to remind people to look after things in our countryside.
Well, what about take your rubbish home with you? It's amazing, the amount of litter and rubbish that people leave behind. I collected a whole sack full this morning when I went for a walk. Let's have a look, see what we've got. Oh. Oh. Well, it doesn't look very nice. And there's a lot of things here that are really dangerous for animals.
If an animal got trapped in a bag like this, it might not be able to breathe properly.
And don't leave bottles like this lying around, because a small animal could find its way inside, but not be able to get out again. And the bottle could quite easily be knocked over and broken, and those sharp, jagged edges could quite easily cut an animal.
And this could cut you too.
I suppose you could leave an apple core, because that would rot away. And so would orange peel.
And if you left half a sandwich, that might. Or you could think it was a free meal for an animal. But if it's still in plastic, well, plastic doesn't rot away. It might last forever, and it's very dangerous. It could get stuck in an animal's throat.
But some things never rot away, like this nylon fishing line. Now, can you imagine what it would be like if someone who was fishing got the line all tangled up and just cut it off and left it? Well, a small animal could get caught on that hook.
Or if they just dropped it back into the water, could very easily get tangled around the legs of a water bird. We've really got to look after our lovely countryside and try not to spoil it. Now, I've got a story about someone who made a mess of the whole world. A man stood on a hill and looked at a star. All he thought about, dreamed about, was the star. The man climbed to the top of a tree and tried to reach the star, but he was nowhere near it. "I must fly," said the man. The man owned some factories nearby. "Build me a rocket," he ordered. "Cut down the trees, dig out the coal, burn whatever will burn, and build me a rocket to reach the stars." All day and all night the fires in the factories huffed and puffed. Smoke and fumes and waste and rubbish poured out and piled up. At last, the rocket was ready. The man took his rocket to the top of a heap and set off for the star. When he landed on the star, the man looked about him. There was nothing to see. Sadly, he looked around. But the only thing of wonder was another star, far off in the black sky. "I will go to that star," said the man. On Earth, the piles of rubbish smouldered and burned, and the mountains rumbled. Far below the surface, the heat disturbed the sleep of the dinosaurs, who had lain hidden away for hundreds of years. The earth cracked, and out came all sorts of creatures. A dinosaur held his nose as he looked around. "Phew," he said. "There is nothing on this planet but mess. If we are going to live here, we'll have to get busy." Some of the dinosaurs burned rubbish in volcanoes. Dancing dinosaurs broke up the roads. As the rubbish was cleared, green shoots appeared, bursting through cracks and climbing over old, forgotten walls. And all this time, the man was heading for his new star, unaware that it was the very same planet Earth he had once left behind him. He landed in a jungle, alive with beautiful plants, sweet with the scent of flowers, and filled with the song of birds. "At last," he said, "I have found my paradise." "Whose paradise?" said the biggest dinosaur. "Mine," said the man. "Rubbish," said the dinosaur. "If you had been ruled by your heart instead of your head, you would not have destroyed this paradise before." "I destroyed it," said the man. "You mean this is Earth?" "Yes, it is," said the dinosaur. The man looked about him and saw that the dinosaur was right. "Please, may I have a small part of it back?" "No," said the dinosaur. "Not a part of it, but all of it. It is all yours, but it is also all mine. Remember that. This time, the Earth belongs to everyone, to be enjoyed and cared for." "Yes, everyone," came the chorus from all living things.